I'm going to say some words here, and I need everyone to listen very closely and also to share this video with as many people as possible. If you plan on leaving the United States, or if you have left the United States already, you are not a coward. You are very smart. And if you are not in a position to financially leave the United States, you also still have to listen to this very closely. What is happening right now is that you are living in an authoritarian dictatorship and things are only going to get worse. Yes, we are seeing the execution of Project 2025 and Project Esther, but things are only going to get worse. For women, things are going to get increasingly worse. For minorities, things are going to get even worse than they already are. For immigrants, the kidnappings will continue. It's going to just get worse. The federal government will continue to be eviscerated. The courts just now are effectively, institutions that deliver verdicts that the administration does not listen to. So here we are. This is our current time right now in our society. And as they are literally deploying the National Guard to states all across the country and to cities all across the country that are predominantly minority cities, this is where we are. They are literally trying to push people to the max, to whereas there will be a situation like a race war, to whereas there will be a situation to whereas there is mass censorship. That's what they want. And for people who have been paying attention, like I've been an independent journalist for 7 years. I started doing this work when I was 13 years old, covering the first Trump administration. Even going into the second Trump administration, I knew that this was going to be something different, that this was going to be something that most resembled authoritarianism, that most resembled a dictatorship. Because in reading Project 2025 and these plans, this is not something that is just Project 2025. It's also literally the culmination of over 50 years of conservative doctrine, of conservative ideology, that they believe that white Christianity should be in the government. And the reason I say white Christianity there is because it's their own manufactured version of Christianity that is completely antithetical to the teachings of Jesus Christ, but is only beneficial for pro conservative white straight men. That's the America that they envision. They envision America where females have no rights. They envision an America where your daughter's menstrual cycles are tracked. They envision an America where every move that females make is tracked, where females are the property of men. That's what they envision for this country. They also envision an America where minorities like myself are terrified in anything that we do, terrified to even walk outside, terrified to go to our jobs, terrified because white supremacy is the stronghold. That's what they want. And I hate to say it, but you really have to, because if you are someone that was just as horrified as I was going into the 2024 election that America would not make the right choice, this is where we are as a result. Going into the 2024 election, I knew that if the results of the election went the other way, in the way of voting for Donald Trump, then people were going to be leaving this country. And I literally was telling people that. I was like, you guys, you need to start making a plan to leave the country if Trump wins the election, or you need to start making a plan, to do this and to do that so that you're prepared. If you have not already left the country and if you're in a position to do so, get out now. Get out now if you're in a position to do so. Many people will not be able to do that. They'll just have to be here. And what that will look like if you're staying here effectively is to resist or to die trying. That's what it's going to look like, because things are going to get worse. We need to not kid ourselves. There will not be a 2028 election. There will not be a 2026 midterms. And even if there are a 2026 midterm elections, it's already going to be heavily gerrymandered with these new racist, white supremacist maps that they're drawing up to dilute minority voters in having a say in their local democracies. Trump has already talked about getting rid of voting machines and already getting rid of mail-in ballots. What did he say prior to the 2024 election? You'll never have to vote again. We'll have the system fixed so good. And also, by the way, he just made himself effectively the head of the Federal Election Commission, which effectively was this bipartisan commission that had, multiple people on it Democrats and Republicans to ensure that elections are run fairly and securely in this country. But Trump is now the sole overseer of that, along with AG Pam Bondi, his sycophant, and that is court order approved. Democrats sued to stop that. Judge said, nope, Trump is now the sole overseer of elections in this country. So that's what we're contending with. Elections are not going to save us. The resistance is going to take more because, yes, authoritarianism can be defeated. Dictatorships can be defeated because the answer to resistance, the answer to authoritarianism is mass resistance, but that has to be consolidated. That has to be cohesive. That has to be organized. That has to be, truly everyone on the same page here. Things are going to get worse than they already are. This is not a joke. They are building concentration camps. They are kidnapping immigrants. You have white supremacists who feel impunity now to go out and to just shoot black people. We are living in this United States of America. Things are getting worse, and they will continue to get worse. What we are living through right now is something that is bad, but the worst is still on the way. This is what living in a consolidated authoritarian dictatorship looks like. This is what that resembles. And things are only going to get worse. So I say this to say, leave the country while you still can. I pray your passports are not expired. And I pray that you're able to get new passports, because the State Department under Marco Rubio, what's going to happen? What are you going to do if they don't renew your passport? What are you going to do if they don't let you leave the country? I mean, get out while you still can, if you can. Because it's going to come to a point where they are going to not let anybody leave the country for whatever reason. They're not going to let people leave the country. That's why I'm literally telling people, if you plan on leaving the United States, do not come back. Don't come back for a vacation. Don't come back for family. Under no circumstances can you come back. You have to get out while you still can. But if you're planning on leaving, please do your research on where you're going, because there are other authoritarian dictatorships building up across the world. You have your Viktor Orbáns in Hungary. You have your Javier Milei's in Argentina. I mean, you have your other, governments like this that are building across the world. Things are only going to get worse. The military is being used against the civilians of this country. You have names like Peter Thiel and Curtis Yarvin. This is where we are as a country. And for people saying that if Trump died, everything would be better or things would, subside, that's not exactly the case. I mean, even for people who think that J.D. Vance would be a terrible president in and of itself, they don't need J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance would become president if something were to happen to Trump. But of course, the people that are backing J.D. Vance are far more dangerous than the people that are also backing Trump. I mean, you have Peter Thiel, you have Curtis Yarvin, you have all these pro-right eccentric billionaires who are hell-bent on destroying democratic freedoms, on destroying women's rights, on destroying the fact that you have a right to vote, on destroying your access to clean water, on destroying your access to clean air, on destroying the freedoms that you have enjoyed for a large part of your life. And I'm not being hyperbolic, I'm being realistic. And it's the fact that we start talking like this, because that's where we are. If you believe that elections are going to save us, you are simply naive. If you believe that we are just going to vote our way out of this, you have to wake up. Do the research. Elections are not going to save us. The Constitution right now is effectively irrelevant to this administration. They do not care. Constitutional rights do not matter. And the courts, they are surviving by a thin thread. This is where we are. And so we have to contend with that reality. And the answer is not to lie down and to just give up. The answer for those of us who are staying here has to look like mass resistance. To resist or to die trying. To tell the truth or to fall into complacency. To tell the truth or to fall and to be compliant. This is what that looks like. This is what living under an authoritarian dictatorship looks like. And if you plan on getting out of the country, get out while you still can. This is where we are. Things are only going to get worse. They eventually are going to shut us in this country completely, and no one will be allowed to leave. I cried tears after the 2024 election results because I knew what it meant for the women in my life. I knew what it meant for the women all across this country. I knew what it meant for minorities all across this country. I knew what it meant for communities who are still right now struggling to breathe in communities where there is no clean air because of oil companies and no clean air because of these industrial plants that are specifically built next to these neighborhoods. The EPA is being gutted. They were tasked with regulating that. With the help of the Supreme Court and with the help of this right-wing conservative administration, that's what's happening right now. Things are going to get worse. They're gutting the FDA people. They're gutting the Health and Human Services Department. They're gutting the CDC. So God forbid we have another pandemic. We are screwed. Everything that has been a part of the administrative state in the United States government is falling apart. It is done intentionally, and that is what is happening right now. So it is not to be hyperbolic that I'm saying all of this. This is not fear-mongering. This is just hardcore truths that we need to understand in terms of what is going on in this country and how things are going to progressively exacerbate from this point forward. And we have to understand that. We have to contend with that reality. Because we may be the laughingstock of the world in some areas, but also, the world is also terrified for what's happening in the United States. This is where we are. Eyes open, heads up, stay focused. Be the resistance.